are things really inherently bad? Or are we playing a role in how we respond to certain situations? I would suggest when it comes to dealing with anger that we play a large role in how we experience life within ourselves. Regardless of circumstance, we always have a choice to let them control us, let the situation overtake us, and to separate ourselves from it by resisting it, or whether we're going to respond consciously and let it transform us, let it grow us by lovingly and compassionately cradling our gut response and putting ourselves in the other person's shoes. Now, I had this experience today when I was having a phone call with my girlfriend. Recently, she went to a festival, really wanted me to come, but for some reason I just couldn't get the energy and wasn't able to come, because just a week before I was at a festival too, and I was really tired and already did something that took a lot of energy and didn't bring up the energy to go there. And I thought that she was overly critical of me on the phone, telling me that that was not very loving and kind of me to not come. And I thought that the situation in and of itself caused me suffering. That what she was doing was bad. But now, several hours later, I apologized for getting a little bit antsy and not seeing her point of view, because I noticed that I really closed my heart in that situation. I noticed that I played a large role and contributed a large chunk towards my suffering by resisting the situation and closing off. And reciprocating a closed off energy. But as Martin Luther King said so brilliantly, darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that. Right? So all sorts of situations in life will come, but we have the choice to stay open, to breathe, to lovingly hold that pain, to stay open, or to close up, to tense up, to resist and separate ourselves from the situation and suffer. Isn't it an adage to say that pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional? The suffering is, in the Buddhist tradition, like the second arrow. The first arrow hits us inevitably in the life, but the second arrow we can prevent by learning to mindfully recognize our resistance to situations. Anger is like we're punishing ourselves for something that is happening outside of our control. Buddha said that it's like taking a hot coal and trying to throw it at somebody. You're going to get hurt. And the consequences of giving into anger are really much worse than the situation that was unfortunate. That is what meditation can do. It can help us begin to mindfully observe situations and stand back from them. Not suppressing emotions, but learning to become a better superconductor, learning to let them flow through you instead of giving them a shelter and let them live there rent-free. I still get triggered plenty of times, but ever since learning meditation and increasing mindfulness, it has improved a lot. It has reduced the time that I snap out of it, that I recognize, oh, I got triggered, and now I'm putting up resistances and holding on to the suffering by judging it and resisting it. There's a story of a monk meditating in a boat in a mist on a lake, and then a boat comes out of the misty darkness and hits him. And he gets all angry and pissed off, was disturbed in his meditation. He opens his eyes, is ready to shout at the boatsman, disturbing him. But then he realizes the boat is empty. There was no one there. And so the anger subsided, and he just kept laughing and laughing and laughing the whole day. Now this is what happens so often in life. The empty boat follows us everywhere. Someone gives us a bad look, and we think it's all about us. We're deficient, something's wrong with us. But maybe that person was thinking something totally differently. I got cut off in traffic really badly, like recently, and I was really happy to notice myself. Well, I got triggered. I wanted to flip off that driver, but I didn't. I realized that, oh my God, like, wow, I'm able to observe that rush of energy inside of myself, and all that is thanks to meditation. And compassion skills that you develop through that, because you realize we're all in the same boat. We all just want to be happy. We all have our own self-biases and self-agendas. And just like in that phone call with my girlfriend today, once we realize, oh, right now, I'm caught in my self-bias, and the other side is caught in their self-bias, and we both just take them as absolutely true and disregard the other side. If we can both let go of them, positions a little bit, and realize that we're both being self-biased and therefore clashing, we can resolve lots of conflicts through putting ourselves in more and more shoes in life. Right? Isn't that the best way to live? To be able to see all perspectives? I think the less perspectives you're able to see, the harder it will be to live life peacefully and calmly. Because even when we're angry at politicians and seemingly horrendous things, anger in the end is still anger, and it separates us from what we're angry at. And the dynamic is fundamentally the same. But what if we realize that self and other, that duality is actually non-existent in truth? And that really, it's not a woo-woo concept to say we are lacking holistic understanding, holistic meta bird's eye view perspective. But that is actually the case. If we truly have understanding, we are able to forgive instantly if we realize that we are all one. We are all the universe. This doesn't mean we don't get triggered is totally fine. But I think going towards that understanding, integrating it, directly experiencing it through meditation, through psychedelics, and expanding our consciousness in life in general by reading books about emotions and how the mind works, we'll make lots of progress towards more peace and emotional mastery in life. Because whatever we resist, we become. And that is one of the most life-changing things we can realize, that the mind creates basically 90% of suffering. It's self-created. And when we argue with reality, we'll lose 100% of the time. And we don't have to believe in spiritual woo-woo stuff. This is actually very, very practical. That if we don't learn to love reality exactly as it is and see the perfection in every moment, then we'll just keep on suffering. But suffering, it plays a role. It actually nudges us towards awakening, towards more conscious living. So everything in life has its purpose. It's not an accident. Even hate is love. It's a contorted and twisted form of love, but still all is love in the end. And when we can learn to be patient and not react as much in that moment of heat, then we'll, as the Chinese proverb goes, avoid 100 days of sorrow. Osho told a nice story of Gurdjieff's dad. When he died, he didn't have any inheritance for him except one lesson, one sentence, that when somebody makes you angry, make sure that you wait 24 hours before you react. Tell them, I will come back to you 24 hours and then see how you respond then. And he was still very young, I think 9 years old, he said. And that really transformed his whole life, I guess. Beautiful illustration right there. So yeah, meditation will help us become the witness in those situations, because we already are the witness, ever and always. But what happens in situations where we have strong negative emotions is we react, we identify with the rush of energy that passes through us. And we let it move in, but it just wants to pass through. And actually our resistance to that causes and adds on lots of suffering, like the second error we can avoid from the inevitable arrow in life that is just part of existing here in this formed, limited, impermanent realm. In Buddhism, there's this beautiful analogy of, life, there's inevitable suffering and pain, and they call it, it's like the mud. There's going to be muddy situations, but they also have the spiritual symbol of the lotus flower. And the lotus flower only grows in mud. And so we can learn to let pain and unfortunate situations to transform us, to grow us, to accept it as part of life, and to become more conscious through it. Because if we never suffered, there would be no evolution. It grows us, it makes us wiser. makes us more humble, makes us question ourselves and our ways of living. So I hope this was insightful. If it was, give me some feedback, leave me some like, and subscribe if you want more videos on self-actualization and spirituality. I'm really excited about sharing this and just figuring out what exactly it's going to be, but I'm fighting my way through. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon with more. Peace out. Namaste.